Hi, guys. Thank you so much for joining us for our Journey of a Joyful Life podcast. I'm so excited that you are here today. We have some really exciting guests here, and this week we have come to Georgia to see our friends and have just been really excited about the possibility of sharing some stories of kids who were adopted from our Journey of a Joyful Life home in China. And so today we get to start with my dear friends here, Angie Den and Lisa Durand, and just hear their stories. And so we're excited for you to hear as well. I met Angie and Lisa because they came to our home on a trip just to volunteer. So when we were living in China, we had 2 times a year where we would give our IEs, the ladies who worked in our home, we would give them a break. So during Chinese New Year, they would get to go home to their families. And then during October holiday, that's kind of like the Chinese National Day, kind of like 4th of July in America. But they would take 5 days off nationally for the country where people would go home and see their families. And so we chose those 2 times during the year to give our staff time off where they got to go and rest. So during those times, though, because of the amount of children we had, it was not enough just for us, myself, and normally we had 1 or 2 volunteers that lived with us. So it was not enough for us to take care of all the kids. So we would always have a team from the US or other countries come in and help us during that time. And so we got connected with a church here in Georgia because of another family that we knew. And they started sending teams to come and help us through the dens. And so Angie and her family kind of spearheaded that. And then her daughter Grace came and worked in our home, volunteered for very long-term stints at different times during our time to stay. And I will say that Grace, I love her like my own daughter because she helped me at so many different times. I have so many stories with her and just being there during lots of hardships and also lots of really great things that happened when Grace was at our house. And so I really want, though, for Elisa and Angie to be able to share their stories of their adoptions, but just their stories of their families. So Angie, tell us your story.
Well, my husband Clayton and I met in college, and then we're married in 1997. And around that same time, I can't remember if we were engaged or dating, but we went to a Stephen Curtis Chapman concert. And so he shared about adoption, specifically adoption from China. And God just birthed in my heart a desire to adopt specifically from China. So we then got married. I worked as a teacher. He worked in the business world, and we had 3 biological kids, and all of them were under the age of 5. So they were 5, 4, and 2. And we had talked a little bit off and on about adoption, but again, we were quite busy with 3 little kids at home. But he heard on the radio a program from an agency about adoption and came home and said, I ordered this material, from the radio. It'll be coming in the mail. Don't throw it away, because I'm notorious for throwing junk mail or other mail away. So I was a little shocked, a little overwhelmed, but obviously, this was something that was on the radar. I just wasn't thinking necessarily right now, but we ended up starting the process, thinking, that we would get matched with a little girl from China. We had 2 girls and a boy at the time. And then as we kind of started the process, I looked at our agency's website often at all the kids and saw a picture of our soon-to-be son and just felt drawn to him. And then, so we talked about him, and he had some medical needs. He had a cleft lip and palate. And, through that process, God, took me on a journey of, it wasn't about, the medical need or the special need. It was about the child that we felt like we were, being called to adopt ultimately. And so we adopted him, and he was 2, and he had been in an orphanage for the majority of his life, as far as we can tell. It had several surgeries in China. As we look back, we realize now, that he had a lot of trauma from all those medical experiences and then also experiences in an orphanage instead of a foster home. Out of our 5 adopted children, he's the only one that was in an orphanage the entire time. So, I feel like we got to experience the fact that that's a very different, um, early years. So anyway, so he came home and God continued that journey of he's now had over like 30 surgeries on his ears or mouth. And now he actually just recently finished his EMS degree. So God has used in his life his little um, persistent personality that I thought would break me when he was 2 to I really believe he can do anything, that the Lord puts on his heart and that he sets his mind to. So that's been sweet, but also, I feel like I'm kind of on the other side a little bit of that journey, but the process to get there, was hard. So then after that, we knew, I think from the beginning, that we would adopt again, from China, and we're on all the different groups. So then we adopted a little girl again on like our agency's website and just felt drawn to her. And she was 9 whenever she was adopted. She was in a great foster home, connected to us quickly. She too has special needs, but now has a job, works full time. And so she, is doing well. And then we adopted, we were helping someone start the process to adopt from China. And they decided that one of the little boys was not to be their son. And so we said, well, that's because we think he's ours. And so that's how we adopted I guess that would have been our 6th child, 5th child. I don't know. Yeah. So, and he was 2 whenever he came home. And then, after that, Grace, our oldest daughter, met someone at a camp she was working at, and she had aged out of the foster care system and just really wanted a family. And we felt like, that we could give that to her. And so we adopted her actually whenever she was 19. So she had been in and out of foster care, in and out of different family things, or families' homes. So, and then our last adoption is Gabriel, and he is one of Melodie's babies, and he has Down syndrome. And how we ended up with Gabriel is one of the times that Grace was in China, she calls and she says, Mom, I think I have your next child right here, and shows me a picture. And I'm like, you can't be right. But then we went on one of the holidays that Melodie was sharing about and met him. And then actually he was matched with another family, and we begged them to release his file, and they did. And so God brought him to our family, and he's just the biggest joy. And now he's 12. Wow. Anyway, but so that's kind of our adoption journey, which involves a lot of things like disrupting birth order, special needs adoption, medical needs adoption, trauma, working through that. I think as the kids have gotten older, and all but 2 out of 8 are adults now, I think I realize now that like the trauma, all of the things that have impacted them in younger years, it's not like that leaves. It's something that they struggle with, their whole lives. And obviously God, works in that in their heart, uses it for good. And that God continually reminds me that, even though they don't live in my home, like he's not done with them, and he's still, working in their lives even through difficult circumstances. So it is definitely a different journey now that they're older, than it was whenever they were little. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think probably you could say that about your biological
Oh,
children
definitely.
as
Yeah.
well. That the journey when your children are younger is different when they're older, but just with trauma in general, the trauma that you have as a child and how that affects you in childhood situations is totally different than childhood trauma affecting you in an adult situation. Because then you have to advocate for yourself, or hopefully that's the goal.
Right.
And the responses that you have as adults are not as easily forgiven as they are whenever you're a child, and your parent can talk around it, and help other people understand. And it's something that's not often talked about because it's hard. It's so hard to navigate those situations. There's no book that says, do this, XYZ, and then this will happen, right? Because the situations are so different. But, so when Gabriel came to my house, he he was a tiny little nugget, and so we called him Gaga because I was in America whenever he came, and it was during the summertime. I'll never forget. It was so hot in Guiyang, and we had no air conditioning. Obviously, because none of our houses had air conditioning, but it was so hot. And he came, and it was like when he would get hot, he would just be like, I mean, he was just very expressive and very dramatic from a very small child. But he wasn't there. But my two volunteers that I had, whenever he came with a little girl who ended up passing away, and they were always together. They were in the swing together. They were next to each other in the beds. They always were together. But she kind of like was a little bit more chill than he was. And I mean, he was just, everything was so dramatic. So he would get hot in the swing and just lose his mind, screaming and like crying these huge tears, like somebody help me. And it was just so dramatic. And I love that about him. But the reason they called him Gaga was because in Chinese, a little singer is like the word sing is Trungga, and then big brother is Gaga, and he actually was like very, very little, but age-wise, was a little bit older than one of the other ones, and so they were like, oh, he's the little cute little big brother singer, and I was like, I don't know if we can call him big brother because he's so little, and because if you said Gaga in Chinese, everyone would think he's the big brother. And they were like, but also he's so cute. And the Chinese word for handsome is shuai ge. And we should just call him little cute singer. And so it still ends up being Gaga, which still sounds like Big Brother. And I was like, well, okay. I was on the phone having this conversation with my Canadian volunteer who was there. And he's like, we're just going to call him Gaga. Or better yet, I'm going to call him Elvis. And I was like, where did that come from? And he was like, well, Elvis was a singer. We could just call him Elvis. And I was like, I cannot believe we're doing this. So that Canadian volunteer who I loved to death called him Elvis the whole time, and like would shape his hair like over in this little comb over thing because he had the best hair forever. Just this like fan of hair going over. And he was completely the child that everyone was smitten with. Every time they would come in the room, he would just look at him with his eyes, and these just little eyes would just bat, and everyone would be like, oh, he's so cute. And then he got held the most. He got passed around because everyone loved him. The Chinese ladies loved him, and we loved him. But it wasn't very long into the fall semester, it started getting cold, that he started getting really badly sick. And I had taken him to the hospital a couple of times, and they had already told me that he had a really bad hole in his heart. And, with our kiddos with Down syndrome, that can always be a thing. And the little girl that he came with to our house also had Down syndrome and had a really terrible heart, and she had passed away from like her heart failing. And I just remember thinking like, oh, I can't lose him too. Like he has to live. He has so much life in his eyes. He's just full of life, and he sings all the time, and he's so, you know, just can completely manipulate a room with his cuteness. And this last time that he had gotten really sick, and I had rushed him to the hospital, and all the doctors and nurses said like, he's not going to make it. Like, this is going to be probably his last night. And they didn't want me to stay there. They wanted me to take him home. And I was like, he can't go home because if he's gonna pass away, he can't pass away in my house. And I was just devastated. And I can see the room where we were in this one particular hospital. It was not one of the best hospitals, but all the hospitals were full. We had tried to take him to another hospital, and they were full, and they wouldn't accept him, and he needed oxygen immediately. And this hospital had oxygen, and we'd actually started there, and they didn't want to take him either. We went to the other one, and then we came back. And I just begged. I'm like, you already said he's probably not going to make it. Can we please just give him oxygen so that, you know, like, we are just trying, like, palliative care, basically, so that he's not suffering. And they felt bad for me. They were one of the sweetest hospitals. They always were super sweet to me. So they gave me this room that wasn't really, it wasn't supposed to be a room, but there was a bed in there, an extra bed. And so they put me in there with him. And I was so brokenhearted because I just remember thinking, like, how can I have these two babies that come right at the same time, and they both have heart disease and they're both going to die? Like, I was really having some hard talks with the Lord. And I have a picture of him. He had like a tube on his nose, and just, I mean, he was as pale as a ghost, and he had been burning up with a fever, and I'm sure he had pneumonia. And I was like, I don't know. Like, Lord, at this point, you either take him or you don't. Like, you take him or you heal him, because he can't keep going on like this. I cannot keep going on like this, wondering, is he going to survive? And like, when's the next time that he's going to go to the hospital? And I just can't. My heart can't handle it anymore. And I mean, was really specific with the Lord, and just told him, like, I can't do it anymore. And so and he was just barely, I mean, I could just see his chest was just having so much trouble breathing. And they had like this little box of a heart monitor right by the bed. And so I could see, like, as it went down, as it went down, as it went down. And I just prayed and cried out to the Lord, and he was like right in my arm, laying in my arm. And the beds, these Chinese beds were so funny. They were definitely like a baby bed, but a little bit longer, but we both were in it. We were both in this bed. I was like, he's not laying in that bed without me, but there was no chair, so there was nowhere for me to sit in the room. So I'm like, we're both getting on this bed, and he just laid in my arms, and I fell asleep. And after I had this really hard talk with the Lord, and I don't even think I realized that I was so tired and falling asleep, because I was just so emotional. And whenever I woke up, I took a picture of him, but whenever I woke up, there was all this color in his face, and he was just looking up at me, smiling, this big old smile. And I was like, what time is it? What happened? And then I'm like, we both died. I mean, all these thoughts in my head, like, what's going on? Did he live? Did I die? I don't know. Lord, what happened? And I was like, where's my phone? And I picked up my phone, and I was like, we slept the whole night, and he survived. And he was like moving his hands all around. And I was like, oh my gosh, God healed him. He was healed. And it just came over me. I just started sobbing my eyes out, like, God, you're healed. You're healed. The Lord healed you. And I mean, within a matter of hours, we went home. They took the oxygen off of him. His lungs were clear. And we went back home. And all the IEs were like, I mean, they just were waiting, like, she's going to come home and tell us he died, because that had just happened, very soon. 2 babies had died. And I was like, no, he's healed. God healed him. They didn't know what to think about that. But I remember, like, I had no fear. I was like, he's never going to get sick again. Like, he's truly healed. And I don't remember him ever getting sick. Like, he just was great. And they were like, well, he still has a heart, disease. And I was like, well, we're not even going to take him for the test because like the Lord healed him. And so, but I do remember thinking, and I think I probably told you, like, I'm pretty sure there's something wrong with his heart. I don't know. Maybe God healed him, but you should probably check it out in America, and all these things. Like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm not going to do it because I believe in the Lord healed him. But I need to tell you, just in case that, don't be surprised. But he, like, from that moment, I mean, it was just like, there he was, just full of life, so happy. And I'll never forget Grace just falling in love with him, and saying, oh, my parents have got to adopt him. And I was like, Grace, I don't know. I mean, it's a lot. It's going to be a lot for your parents. And I'll never forget when she got off the phone the first time and she was like, it's not looking good, And I was like, let's just pray together. She's like, but he's supposed to be my brother. And how many years would I have to wait until I'm old enough to adopt him? I mean, he won't be adoptable anymore. And she would talk about it all the time, just like all the scenarios. They have to, and then thinking about you coming and meeting him, I was like, if you just come, no one can resist this child.
That's right.
And then it happened.
Right.
It was so precious and wonderful.
And God did heal his heart. The cardiologist, found nothing. And it's probably one of our healthiest children.
Yes, he's just so precious. I've loved seeing him this week. Just what a little grown man he is, and his deep little voice, and so sweet. Okay, I love it so much. So, like, from your perspective, all but one of your kiddos are adopted from China. And you have a foster care situation, and then you have, Chinese international orphanage / some foster care situations. Do you feel like that there's like a different kind of hard, or it's all the same kind of hard, or like each one's individually different? Like, what's your opinion on those adoptions in the sense of, I mean, like most of your kids came to you, they didn't understand English.
Right.
I mean, Gabriel pretty much did just because he'd been around us, but your other kids, like, what was that transition like from not understanding English to?
Yeah. I mean, I think that was the least of our concerns.
They were pretty young, except for your daughter.
Well, and yes, but the daughter adopted at 9, Joy. Her personality is kind of happy-go-lucky, so it was pretty easy to get by. I actually think our youngest adoption probably had the hardest time. I mean, he was just 2, but yet he was the one who wanted to communicate and wanted to understand so badly. That was just his personality.
Your first adoption.
Yeah. And I do think, I mean, at that time we knew 0 other people that had adopted, so we didn't really have any community to kind of draw from, at that time.
Yes.
So,
yeah, that's hard. And then transition wise, like, how are all those transitions to go from into your home with your other kids? I mean,
I think it gradually got, I don't know if easier is the word, but we knew more what to expect with each adoption. So I think it's more us that changed.
Yeah.
I mean, just the expectation that it would take time, but it would happen. And that, and also the understanding that you don't need to be looking for things to be what you considered normal before,
Yeah.
So it's almost more of a mindset change, I think. So,
yeah, that's so good.
And I think too, for the kids, biological or adopted, I mean, every time you bring another child into your home, it changes things for them too, you know? So, and I think going through it, because also they're all pretty close in age. Well, the girls at one point are all like the same age at some points in the year, the 3 of them. And so, it just, I think I would know better now how to prepare them,
Yeah.
So, and a lot of that preparation is just extending, just the understanding of extending yourself grace, like even as the child. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be okay, even though it doesn't feel okay, or it feels different, or, it's hard at this moment, or, this child doesn't understand me, or this child cries all the time, or, anything. Or mom and dad have to give all the attention to this child. I mean, it's the same as bringing a baby, into your house. There's a transition period.
Right.
So
it just looks different because it's not a baby.
Right.
So your brain does something different.
Yes.
To just adapt. But
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, Lisa, let's hear your story.
Okay. Well, I met my husband in college in North Carolina, and we were friends for probably 10 years before we got married. But he had had cancer when he was 18. And so going into marriage, we did not know for sure whether we would be able to have children. So adoption kind of crossed our mind at that time, that if we could not have children, I would be happy to adopt. And so we married and ended up being able to have children. So we have 3 boys, and that all went great. We were getting older, and we thought we were done. However, in my heart, I always felt like there was an empty chair at our table. We had 5 of us together, and there was always that empty chair. And I'd always felt like that chair was supposed to have somebody in it. But we were older. I wasn't having any more babies. We were past that age. And adoption was not really something that we were thinking about anymore. We were thinking, this is, we've got our family. And then Grace, Angie's daughter, that had
We all blame
Grace.
Grace. I love Grace. She's my
She decided that she was going to put these babies on Facebook to kind of advocate that they needed families. And I love Grace. She had been in my small group, and I'm like, oh, she is precious, and I am going to pray for these babies to get adopted. And so that's what I did. I would scroll through and I would pray for them. And then I would go through and I would scroll and I would read their story. And I would pray for them some more because, I don't need to adopt them. Somebody needs to adopt these babies. And I'm just going to pray, and somebody is going to adopt these babies, not thinking that the Lord was even going to choose us. That was not the plan. So I just was praying for him, and one of the little girls, Joy, just kept on. I just kept on reading her story. Kind of touched my heart that she was getting older, and in China, what is the year cut off that they can't be adopted after? 14. So, and she was 12. She was 12 at that time. And I'm like, wow. And when I learned that she had been in the foster home since she was 2 or 3 months old, and my heart just was like, oh my goodness, that child has seen other kids get adopted, and she has been in there. And I just couldn't imagine what that felt like to see other kids keep getting adopted and her to still be there. At the same time, at our church, I was going through the book of Romans. And in the book of Romans, adoption is there, how, we are undeserving of the grace of God to adopt us into his family. And so I was like, okay, Lord. And I forgot a big part of the story. But anyway, so yeah, I kind of, at first when I saw that picture, I was on my way to a meeting with women. And I was like, y'all, I think I'm going to adopt this little girl. But I was just joking. I was just trying to get a rise out of the ladies in the car. I just wanted them to be like, you are nuts. I just wanted to tease and play and stuff. Well, that later on showed to be true. But what was really going to happen. We really thought that doors were going to close because we were older. My husband had had cancer. He had had a stroke. Just all kinds of things were like, this won't go through. We tried to say, oh, but adopting her at 13, is that going to mess up her life? Because she had a good home. She was in a good foster home in China. Little did we know that she was going to end up going into an orphanage before we were able to get her. But anyway, we did. One day I was just praying that, I just didn't know what to do. And like within a 5-minute segment, Angie had texted me and said, "Why don't you go on this mission trip with us to China?" And in the same 5 minutes, I looked on Facebook, and you had said, "We're short on volunteers and needed to go." And I was on the way to a baby shower that day, and I was just like, "Oh, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to do." And my husband is not like I am. I'm always 10 feet or 10 miles ahead of the Lord. He's always 10 miles behind the Lord. And so I was like, how am I going to talk to them about this? Because the mission trip was like a month and a half or something. It was like really short. Like if I didn't move, there was no way visas were going to be done, be able to do that. And so I went downstairs, and because he was outside, and I'm like, I've got to go to this baby shower. But I want to just tell you right now that this has happened within 5 minutes. I got a text and I saw a thing that I need to go to China. And he was like, okay, go. And Tyler is going with you, my youngest son. So anyway, we got to go and spend a couple of weeks in China and got to know our precious girl, which I am so thankful for, because I don't think I would have been prepared for how hard it was going to be to bring her home. And I tried to talk the Lord out of it, that, we don't have our house isn't set up for her. And he would always let me know, but this is what you need to do. And so it just kept on confirming that that's what we needed to do. So even though we knew it was going to be hard, it was going to be a big change, we just felt like the Lord wanted us to go get this little girl. So we kept doing the paperwork. It kept going through, and we went to get her. And she came home. I don't know, she attached to us great, and we just never looked back. And I've always thought that, I don't know, it was like my kids today, they were like, I can't even imagine what it would be like if she wasn't in our home. Even with the struggles and the different things. And I just remember when the social worker came to me, and, we have these house visits there where they have to check out your house and check everything out. And Joy is there. And it just really came to me like, I thought we were doing this for her, but really, we needed her. We needed her more than she needed us. And I get more hugs than I've ever got in my life. She's just fun. Everybody that comes into my home loves her. And she's just been a joy. So we are thankful too that people in our community too, they're like, we were so thankful. They would see Joy and they would say, you can tell that she was valued and stuff. And so I am so thankful for Melodie and the people who poured into her before we were able to bring her to our home. So, yeah. Did I forget anything? I don't know.
Sweet. No, I don't think so. Joy was always, for most of the years, Joy was so hard for me because she had been Mariana's baby. She was, and Mariana and I were great. We had a great relationship, but those few girls who were hers from before I came to Guiyang, they were so attached to her, and it's good. That's wonderful. But as Mariana stepped away more, it was harder for them because, they didn't know especially JJ, she did not want to listen to me. I was nothing to her, I was preventing her from being with Marion and Hans, and even though that wasn't the truth, but in her mind, that's how it was. And it was so funny because I'll never forget one of the first few times I went to Guiyang to visit. I sat at the table with her, and she loves ketchup. And I don't remember the dish that we had. All I remember is that her plate was covered in ketchup, and she was like just licking it off. And Mariana, and like they mostly spoke Dutch. Mariana and Hans always spoke Dutch, always. And I was like, I'm just sitting here, like, I don't know what they're talking about, and I don't understand the Chinese people, and I'm just sitting here. And then this girl, she's sitting here, and she's like licking the plate, and she hates me, every time she's like looking over at me, like, oh, what are you doing here? And then all the other girls were there, and they were pretty happy with me. But that was like right at the beginning of me living there. And Marianne and Hans were just talking and talking and talking, and I could tell, like, oh, something must be going on. And maybe they were talking about this little girl who's, licking the plate. And so finally they removed the plate. Mariana removes the plate from in front of her. And I mean, she came unglued. She threw herself on the floor. She's kicking. She's screaming. She's like having this whole entire meltdown. All the while, Hans also begins to have somewhat of a meltdown that she has removed the plate. I'm like, what have I done? What have I gotten myself into? I cannot be here. I don't even know what to do. Like, who do I help? Do I help the girl? Do I help Hans? Do I just take care of the other children? Like, I'm so confused. I don't know what to do. And then finally, Mariana speaks English and says, it's fine. Hans gives Doi Doi anything that she wants, and we have to stop the plate licking. And she's going to this whole thing. And I'm like, okay, that's what I thought was happening, but I just wasn't sure. And she's like, she'll be fine. She'll be fine, And of course, eventually she was. She stood back up after she had her little meltdown. And then she got mad at Hans because like he never did anything to step in, and you could tell like he would always maybe like slip something under the table for her or whatever. That was his. They were so close, and but as Hans stepped away a little bit more, she and I kind of were able to have a trust-based relationship, is what I called it, because she did realize that I loved her, and we connected over our music. Because Doi Doi is such a music lover. And so we had, like, we didn't call it chapel, but we had, like, singing time in our school every day. And on one day a week, all of our kids would come in one apartment, and we would all have, singing time together, and we would tell a Bible story and all the things, but we just called it singing time. And every time she would be my helper. And she would come up and stand next to me, and she would normally pick the songs, read your Bible, pray every day, Jesus loves me, this little light of mine, my God is so big. She picked all of them one by one by one by one, and she would always, say the first word or whatever word was her favorite in the song, and help me lead those songs always. And afterwards, always high five, it's so good, or high five, And because she could speak Dutch, she understood Dutch and all that stuff, it was very frustrating to her that I didn't speak Dutch and that I spoke English and she didn't understand English, because what most people didn't understand about her was how smart she was. She is so smart, right? And so she learned so quickly. But if she didn't want to do it, then it was not really it wasn't whether or not she can, it was like if we can convince her to want to do it, right? And so that was like a really big deal. But I'll never forget when she started writing her name and how proud she was, because she could see it on the board. We had written it, for years. We'd written Doi Doi, and she just didn't want to hold the pencil, and she just didn't want to do it. But then finally, whenever we all but forced her to do it, over and over and over, hand over hand, hand over hand. And then she finally did it. She was like, she like threw her pencil down. She picked up her paper and stood up. And she's like, I did it. It was just like, it shocked her, that she was able to do that. And then that was her claim to fame. I can write my name. Everybody should see it. And she wrote her name on everything. Walls, all appliances, anything you'd let her write her name on, which I was like, it's fine. She probably wrote her name. It's so good, right? It's totally fine. But just her little tiny quirks that she had about her, I think the thing that really connected she and I finally was, aside from the music, was that she knew that I like believed in her, that she could do anything, and and she could, and it frustrated her so badly when people didn't assume her competence because she was so competent. And her language, it was hard. She had a huge language barrier just because of functionality. And she was getting older and she liked certain things, but she couldn't communicate that. So whenever someone didn't know that, so difficult, right? She loved going in the car. So, that's when she ran away a couple of times because she knew where she wanted to go and she was going to take herself there because you weren't going to take her there. I wasn't going to take her there. So then she ran there. Except that was always a dangerous situation. But it's just because she's so smart and she knows everything. And a couple of the IEs even would say, Joy Joy's the smartest kid we have but nobody can understand it, because we don't understand her. She was one of the first ones to potty train, to like be able to go to the potty because she wanted to do it. She decided,
Yeah.
But if you didn't understand her, she'd totally wet her pants because it's like, well, if you don't let me go to the bathroom, I'm just going to be all over everything,
So see that.
It's so funny. It's same with the shower. She was like, I want to take a bath. This is my bath day. And, if it wasn't bath day, she's like, it doesn't matter. I'm going in the bathroom and I'm going to give myself a bath. So then everything would get wet. She was just so precious and cute. And, but one of the hardest things was, I think it hit everybody differently, but for Gabriel and for Joy Joy and Luke and all those ones who their adoptions were so close to being finished whenever they got taken away and had to go back to the orphanage. And one of the hardest things ever, I mean, and it happened. I mean, it's true that she just felt like, because of how smart she is, she just felt like I let her get taken away, and I mean, I could tell.
She knew.
She knew she was going
that she was going to be adopted.
Right.
And so that wasn't
a part of the plan. Right. Well, and as much as I could tell her that, I had been telling her for so long, Miss Lisa's going to come to China and adopt you and she's going to be your mom. I mean, we talked about it all the time. She knew. And then all of a sudden this thing interjected her plan and wasn't going to happen. And I don't know if Gabriel felt differently just because Grace had come and gone so many times. Like Grace wasn't new for him, but he could she would leave, but then she always came back, right? He already had that in his mind. And I don't think like Droida didn't have that in her mind. She'd never left, right? She'd always been with us for all those years. And we were the constant, and so to think she'd only seen you just one time, and then we told her that, and it's like, well, she loves you, but are you ever going to come back? And how could I ever let this happen to her? I was supposed to keep her safe, and not being able to keep her safe and the others safe. Like, yeah, I mean, that was the most difficult thing when I saw her the first time afterwards, was just knowing that she hates my guts. And I just, got in my car after that and just sobbed my eyes out, like she just thinks that I didn't care about her and that's why I let her go. And hard. And it was so hard, but so refreshing and wonderful for me to see that, like, she was so attached to you, like that didn't change, that she was able to attach to you. Well, I mean, you got to rescue her, right, in her mind. So that was the best case scenario.
The minute she saw me, she left the people she was with. I mean, we weren't even upstairs. We were in the hallway, and she was like, I'm going with them. And the ladies were like, how does she, what?
Oh,
like,
did she see you before you went upstairs?
Yes.
Oh my God.
She ran. I mean, like, she remembered.
Oh, yes. She
was like, and she was like, the ladies would try to talk to her, and she was like, get out of here. This is my family, and I'm good.
They came. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. We're going and bye. And they would try to say bye to her. And she was like, nope, I'm good. I'm good. This is where I'm supposed to be. So, yeah.
Wow. I don't think I remembered
Yeah,
that.
it was
That's
amazing.
so good.
It was amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, I know it hasn't been, all rainbows and butterflies, but just.
It wasn't with my other kids either. I have to remind myself, all through the time, it was just a later thing, a later, a child coming in at an older age. But, you go through sleepless nights with your babies. And I had to kind of look at that and like, she's not a baby, but I had to have that in my mindset, but this is all new to her. We're
Yeah.
a new family. We're new. Not that I needed to treat her like a baby, but I needed to just realize that it was going to take time like a baby. A baby doesn't come into your home and just start walking and talking and doing all the things. There's a process to it, and there was a process, but I don't know. She is just I don't know. I don't even know what to say. Like, I can't even remember what life was. I feel like I birthed her myself.
Yes.
I don't, it's like, yeah, I guess we did go to China to get her. But, she just feels like she's home. So,
Yeah,
know.
that's such a sweet thing because, yeah, I mean, you can tell it on her. It's like there's not even any China left, like she looks
Except for the rice.
Chinese and the rice and noodles. She does love her rice and her noodles.
she does.
And she
Yeah.
still
We,
loves her
we
sauces.
often joke around. I'm like, she is so a Durand. She is so a Durand. I'm like, just the way she jokes, she's a practical joker.
Yes.
And we're like, oh my word, how did God know
Yeah.
that, well, God definitely knew. We didn't know, but God
Yes.
knew and stuff, and the water and just all the things that our family enjoys. She enjoys
Yes.
too. So that was like a huge blessing. Do you remember me asking you, does she like water?
Oh my word, I'll never
Because I
forget
was like, that was going to be my breaker. I'm like, if she said no, she hates water, I was going to say, okay, we can't do this.
Look at this.
Yeah, we live on the water. We can't, there's no way to avoid this. But she was like, water? Are you kidding me? Water is her very favorite thing in the whole wide world. She only gets to go once a year.
That's right.
Okay. All right. That's
Her
it.
favorite thing in the whole world was always water. And I
Oh,
mean,
dancing, singing.
dancing, yes,
yeah,
but you
but-
can do that anywhere.
yeah.
But I just remember thinking, well, she's going to learn how to swim. Like, she's just going to have to learn how to swim because that was always the thing that scared me the most is that if she got into a body of water that, I didn't anticipate, that she would drown. But, really, she would have never drowned. Like, that's just the kind of kid that she is.
Exactly.
Like, she would have figured out a way not to drown because she's just so
she is
smart.
a survivor.
She's a survivor.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember Mariana telling me when she was a baby that she almost died so many times and they couldn't keep her warm. They couldn't keep her body heat regulated. And they had kind of like this table, but in the middle was a burner. And they would just hold her over the burner.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, wow.
To keep her warm. And she would stay up night after night after night, just holding her over the burner to try to keep her warm, to help her to get through, because she was so tiny. She weighed under 6 pounds when she came to them. She was just a few months old. And then they just didn't know, like, is she going to make it? Is she going to make it? And, she fought. She knew how to fight. And she still does. She fights for her communication and her.
She does.
Her love.
She has reached her advocacy goal.
Yes.
Advocate for herself very well.
I love it so much.
Very well.
She's a little advocate, and she has a good advocate mama who
I do my
advocates for her.
best. Yeah.
Yes. Well, if you guys could think of, one or two things to tell families who might be thinking about adoption, from two different perspectives, right? Your perspective is like you were done, I mean, Tyler was still in high school, but like you'd raised your kids, and it's like, why are we going to do this? And you already have a lot of kids. See, this is what everyone asks me. You already have enough. Like, we don't collect children. I get all kinds of comments. I'm like, okay, I know. But at the same time, when the Lord puts it on your heart, it's not you. And I can say that over and over again. I did not pick to have that many. I always wanted a big family. I knew that I always wanted a big family. But like, you don't just pick them, right? That's not how it works, truthfully. And so when God's called you to adopt and you have all those fears, like, what would you say to somebody in your two different shoes?
Want me to go first? You can. So I would say, first of all, anything that God calls you to, He's going to pave the way. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy. but he will pave the way. And it's more important to be obedient. And through that obedience, you'll be blessed more than you can imagine, is what we have felt.
Yes.
So I would definitely, we would not change it for anything. It's just, that was the path that God chose for us. And I'm thankful that we did not get scared, because, my husband will say it was not financially the best choice for us. If we looked by what the world standards are, it was not, by the world standards, it was not a smart decision. But, God doesn't operate by the worldly standards.
That's right.
And so I just feel like by following his guidance is what has made it work in our family.
Yes.
And he has paved our way.
Yes. I love that so much. And so true.
I would say, first of all, do it, obey the Lord. To second, Lisa, the blessing of like the kids is, there, but the things the Lord teaches you along the way, I wouldn't give up for anything. And also find a good counselor, several.
Yes.
A counselor for you, a marriage counselor if you're married, and, adoption counselors for kids, as they may or may not want or need it, along the way. And also a good community, now like the progression of our adoptions was we didn't know anybody, and we know a lot of people. And then of course, like the online community is huge, and that makes a big difference. And even before you adopt, talk to as many people as you can, to get different stories and just learn, from there, been there, done that advice. And then to have people to call on whenever you're not sure what to do, or you need, either to just talk to someone, to have someone pray with you, to, anything that you need,
Yes.
that's so important.
So good.
Yeah, and Angie was such, oh my goodness, she was my rock. She probably listened to me more than anything, because she definitely, and Grace.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, they used to come over and help me, take away so that I could have a little break, and so have your support.
That's right.
Team.
So good.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies, so much. So good to hear the stories. All right, guys, this is such a fun time, and I hope that you have enjoyed hearing these adoption stories.